If you have a ring that makes you invisible, what will you do? Will you steal, seduce, kill if you have the world in your hands? If you can do anything, will you do whatever you want? If there are no consequences, no punishments, what will you really do? Your answer determines what's in your soul, really. How would you act if, for example, you have power as much as that? We know many leaders such as Napoleon Bonaparte, Alexander the Great, Joseph Stalin, Hitler, even Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar were great leaders, but we cannot say they are good people. There is a fundamental difference about great people and good people. Great people may do great things and produce great things in life, but they may not necessarily be good people. They are great, but their goodness can be questioned. But one person stands above all. He is not only great, but he is a good person. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius is one of the 5 good Roman emperors described by Machiavelli, and he is the best representation of the philosopher king, a ruler who uses wisdom in his power as described by Plato. In his time, Romans could be said to rule almost the entire known world, and Marcus Aurelius could be said to be a world leader at that time. He could do whatever he wanted without any consequences, and at that time, the Roman emperor was the highest peak that could be achieved from the pleasures of paradise for the hedonists. Many emperors were like that: Caligula, Nero, Commodus, Domitian, and many more. But Marcus Aurelius, he did not fall. He lived. He did good because he was a Stoic. Takes that the why man phosphop abdicating his moral responsibility. He is not afraid of pain. He is not afraid of death. He is not afraid of poverty. He is not afraid of any of the vicissitudes of the human condition. He fears only that he should let himself down and that he should be less than a complete human being. Marcus Aurelius was born in Rome, specifically near what is now Spain, on April 26, 121 AD, into a patrician aristocratic family. He was born with the name Marcus Annius Verus, same as his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, all of whom had been senators. His mother also came from a wealthy family. It could be said that Marcus Aurelius came from one of the most prominent families in Rome. Marcus' father died when he was young, and he was raised by a nurse and his grandfather. At the age of 11, he began to be introduced to philosophy by his teacher Diognetus, likely studying the works of Epictetus, who lived simply and disregarded unimportant things and social conventions. He said that he learned from Diognetus to choose a Greek lifestyle with a camp bed and a cloak. Despite having access to great wealth and comfort, he chose to live simply. Like other aristocrats, he assumedly learned Greek and Latin and was prepared for public life with rhetoric. Also, speeches from some of his teachers were Herodotus Atticus and Marcus Cornelius Pronto, who later became a friend of Aurelius. Well of life in 136 AD, Emperor Hadrianus chose Lucius Aelius as his guardian by adopting him. At the same time, Marcus Aurelius was engaged to Princess Lucius Aelius Sionia Fabia. But 2 years later, Lucius died before succeeding Hadrian as emperor, and this made Marcus Aurelius' engagement cancelled. Hadrianus then chose Antoninus as his guardian on the condition that Antoninus adopt Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus as his adoptive children and his successors later, and make Marcus name Marcus Aurelius Antoninus and prepare as the next emperor. In the same year, not long after Hadrianus died and made Antoninus Pius became emperor. During his reign, Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus received a good education and were prepared to become the next emperor. Marcus was offered an elite residence by Antoninus, but he preferred to live more simply elsewhere. He was taught many things, especially in military matters. Aurelius followed all his teachings, although he preferred philosophical introspection over worldly duties in palace life. During this time, he acquired 2 new philosophy mentors, Apollonius and Rusticus. Marcus wrote about what he learned from them. From Rusticus, He learned to read attentively and not be satisfied with just understanding the essence, and not be deceived by fluent speakers. Marcus continued, and from Apollonius, independence and unvarying reliability and disregard for anything except logos. Both teachers had teachings related to Stoic philosophy, indicating that this was possibly when Aurelius began to be introduced to Stoic views. Epictetus was the author of Discourses and Enchiridion and had famous lectures on Stoic principles and practices and logos. As explained by Apollo Nuus, logos is the power that governs the universe according to Stoic theory. We will explain this later in more detail. In 161 AD, Antoninus Pius died, and the Senate then appointed Marcus Aurelius Antoninus as the new emperor. However, in accordance with the plan of the chief Marcus, the position was refused unless Lucius Verus was appointed with him as emperor. This request was granted. For the first time in the history of the Roman Empire, two emperors with the same status and power. They ruled well and were very popular among the people. Some of the programs they launched were aimed at helping the poor, increasing wages and honors for their military, promoting freedom of speech, arts, and education, and improving the economy by stabilizing the currency. Marcus also enacted many laws and made judicial decisions that improved conditions for widows, orphans, and underage children. Lucius Verus achieved less compared to Marcus because Marcus handled most of the governmental tasks, which were challenging during his reign due to many issues such as border wars, disease outbreaks, and demoralization. By the end of 161 AD, King Vologases IV of Parthia invaded Armenia, which was under Roman protection, and the Roman province of Syria revolted. Verus, who had more military experience than Marcus, led campaigns directly in the east. The Roman-Parthian War lasted until 166 AD and ended with a Roman victory, thanks to General Gaius Avidius Cassius, who brilliantly deployed troops and planned tactics. However, when the Parthian War ended, the Marcomanni tribe from Germania invaded Roman provinces along the Danube in alliance with the Sarmatians from Persia in the year 167 CE. Marcus joined forces with Fuss on the battlefield to repel this invasion and restore order to the empire. Facing military and financial difficulties, imperial properties were auctioned off to fill the depleted legions. Despite this, Marcus and Fuss eventually succeeded in driving out the Germanic people. Fuss passed away in 169, likely due to a stroke or the epidemic brought back by his troops. It took another 3 years to restore the Danubian borders, and additional campaigns in Bohemia brought temporary peace to the region. Marcus ended up ruling alone and had to confront a series of military threats from barbarian tribes on the northern borders. He also dealt with the spread of an epidemic, named the Antonine Plague after him, which spread widely across the empire and caused many deaths, disrupting social stability and the economy. During his reign, Marcus tried to address all these issues and attempted to resolve them. Marcus Aurelius wrote one of the most beautiful philosophical works in history, Meditations. Unlike the theoretical theories found in the works of other philosophers like Aristotle or even those possibly contemporaneous with Marcus, Meditations remains a philosophical text. In fact, Meditations is a private note written by Marcus for himself. His writings were never intended for publication, so they are not about theoretical treatises designed to argue about specific views or doctrines, as in other philosophical writings. Instead, Meditations is a form of practical philosophical exercise that a philosopher does to digest philosophical theories, transform character, and nourish the soul with good thoughts, thereby changing one's behavior and transforming one's entire life. Just as he indicated, the things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts by writing them down. Marcus devised a habit for his thinker by thinking in new ways, and with new thoughts, he trained himself to apply these theories into practice, and thus he would progress towards wisdom. He wrote that a doctor always prepares surgical knives and other instruments for emergencies. Likewise, prepare your philosophy. Be ready to understand the heavens and the earth in everything you do, even the smallest things. Remember the chain that connects it. No worldly thing succeeds by ignoring heaven. No heavenly thing succeeds by ignoring the worldly. From here, we will try to understand the philosophical view of Marcus Aurelius from Meditations, starting from metaphysics, ethics, and logic. In the Stoic world, it is believed that God is named Logos, a providence or some kind of fate or reason that governs the universe. This Logos is basically noble reason. Marcus sees it as a force that governs the entire universe, making everything in it rational, orderly, and purposeful. Meaning, everything that happens has a cause, and interconnectedness. He wrote that what is noble is full of providence. Even coincidence is inseparable from nature. From opening and folding, everything is arranged by providence. Everything comes from it. This is similar to the pantheism of Spinoza, who believes that God and the universe are one. In Stoicism, God is considered the soul of the world that enlivens everything. This is also similar to determinism, which believes that all events in the universe are governed by the laws of nature and destiny. Everything happens for a reason and in accordance with the order of the universe, which is also in accordance with the laws of nature in physics. This can be formulated with logical mathematical language, and by this, Stoics say that humans, as part of the universe, must follow this Logos. Living in harmony with nature means living according to principles of rationality and virtue governed by Logos. He writes, "Never forget these things. The nature of the world, my nature. How do I relate to the world? What proportion of it do I make? That you are a part of nature, and no one can prevent you from speaking and acting always in accord with it, because the universe is governed by the rational Logos. Humans should pursue virtue, which is also based on reason, which is understood as our role in the universe, and behave in a manner consistent with the rational nature of humanity according to Aurelius. Humans have three things: a body that senses, a soul that desires, and a mind that thinks. Those who only use their body to sense food, sex, and the like are no more than grass-eating animals. Those who only use their desires are no better than wild animals and people with low moral or tyrants. Even those who only use their reason are no more than criminals who use their reason to commit crimes. Humans can be good if they use only rationality, that is, to live according to nature. He said that if all other things are common, then only intellectual intelligence and dedication to good are truly characteristic of us. For Stoic virtuous or virtues, virtue is excellence in rationality, which according to them is the only thing that can bring happiness to humans. These virtues enable someone to navigate life's problems and maintain peace of mind. There are four virtues or virtues of the Stoics, namely the first wisdom or Sophia. Wisdom is the ability to distinguish what is truly good and bad and make decisions based on this rational understanding. This means continually seeking knowledge and applying rationality to navigate the challenges of life. Life makes us aware of where we stand and how to act in harmony with nature. Marcus said there is no more peaceful place free from disturbance than your own soul. Step back to consult with your own soul and then return to face what awaits you. He also said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard them well and be careful so that you do not entertain ideas that are not in accordance with virtue and rational nature. The second is courage or andria. Courage in Stoicism is not just physical but moral, remaining faithful to principles even under tempting pressures from outside, consistently doing good even if it entails risks or losses, and acting rationally according to nature, enabling one to face fears, dangers, and difficulties. He wrote, "So maintain yourself, stay simple, pure, serious, candid, a fair friend, devout, kind, full of affection, strong for your work, which you should strive to remain a man desired by your philosopher." He also wrote, "If not true, do not do it. If not true, do not say it." The third is justice or dikaiosine. Because humans are part of a larger universe and interconnected, A Stoic must be able to treat others equally for mutual benefit, not just for oneself. Just action contributes to the common good and must not harm others. Justice in Stoicism goes beyond mere legal justice due to the awareness that everything is part of one logos. He wrote, "The soul of man injures itself first and foremost when it becomes as far as possible separate growth like a tumor in the universe because it hates whatever happens," meaning separating oneself in rebellion from nature encompassing the essence of everything. He also wrote, "Justice is the source of all other virtues. How can we be kind, generous, brave, and wise if we are not just?" The fourth is temperance or sophine. Because humans have logos that can control urges, desires, and emotions to live in harmony with nature. Humans must do so because the origin of much human suffering is their inability to use logos to control lust and emotions, and it is necessary to adhere firmly to principles and values held. He wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing because this art is prepared to face unintended and unexpected things and not easily fall." He also writes, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." Stoic virtues begin with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. These are not absolute, for the ultimate goal of Stoicism is to achieve inner peace and happiness through following reason. If there is anything else that might be better than these virtues, Marcus Aurelius tells himself to accept it. He says, "If at some point in your life you come across something better than justice, honesty, or self-control, courage, briefly, a mind content that it has succeeded enables you to act rationally and be content to accept what cannot be controlled. Therefore, accept it without hesitation. Certainly, it's extraordinary if under the guidance of reason and law, this can prove more excellent than principles that have guided you so far. However, for some of us, it's certain to ask, what if it's not true? What if nature has no rules and just happens randomly?" Marcus Aurelius in Meditations quite often tells that it's possible that nature is not governed by fate or logos, but only a result of atoms colliding randomly in void, roughly the same as believed by the Epicureans. Although now we know it's not true because in quantum theory and relativity provide a more complex view of this. Marcus often struggles with himself if everything is really governed by logos and not something truly irrational and meaningless, whether everything emerges from one intelligent source and forms one body and its parts must accept its actions altogether, or there are only atoms joining and splitting forever and nothing else. So why feel anxious? Tell your mind. Have you died, been brutalized, dishonest? Are you part of a herd or grazing like that? As we see, his struggle only strengthens his belief in ethics as something that needs to be followed or aimed at by humans. And he even said that it is far more important than other things valued by people in general. He said, for example, in the time of Vespasian, you will see all the same things. People getting married, raising children, falling ill, dying, fighting, feasting, farming, flattering, boasting, distrusting, plotting, praying for the death of others, grieving over their own fate, falling in love, hoarding, coveting positions and wealth. Consider the life they lived then, the life they lived when Trajan became emperor. Marcus thought, if we believe that everything is governed by providence or logos or fate or rational reason, then everything that happens is part of a larger and better plan. And if we believe that everything happens purely by chance and randomly moving atoms, then there is no point in complaining because nothing can be changed or controlled by ourselves. Stoics emphasize that true happiness comes from virtue, not from wealth, power, or pleasure. Virtue is the only true good because it is the only thing that is fully under our control. Although the world may be without randomness or unpredictability, our own actions based on virtue remain under our control and give meaning and purpose in our lives. However, despite this, Marcus did not believe in Epicurean physics and consistently emphasized that the world is governed by rationality, which itself is uniquely possessed by humans to determine what is right and what is wrong. Sometimes this logos does not always give us what conventionally we categorize as goodness. This categorization is called impressions or fantasia in Stoicism, and the Stoics teach us to eliminate evaluative judgments or impressions because they can be too emotional and filled with desires, which only lead to unrest in life. They say that everything originates or functions on a larger scale by nature through logos. Marcus Aurelius teaches us to view the world more objectively and not be swayed by emotional judgments, which often are inaccurate. The Stoics say that humans should focus on what can be done, things within our control, not external or outside things. This is one of the main teachings of Stoicism because of the logos as cosmic reason, and our individual rationality as part of this unity must distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot to live in harmony with nature and achieve inner peace. The fact that humans have rationality gives them the ability to think and make meaningful decisions, also granting them the freedom to respond to and interpret events in their lives. Many things are governed by the universe and are not within human control, such as weather, others' actions, or other unforeseen events. However, humans have control over their responses and actions to these predetermined things. Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He also wrote, "It can ruin your life only if it ruins your character. Otherwise, it cannot harm you, inside or out." He also wrote, "People tend to suffer because they desire things beyond their control or fear things they cannot control. They have high expectations, and when these expectations are not met, they are disappointed." He writes that people strive to move away from everything, from rural areas to beaches to mountains. You always hope to do the same. It's foolish. You can distance yourself from it whenever you want by going within. There's no place you can visit that is more peaceful, more free from disturbance than your own soul, especially if you have a reference point within yourself to look at, and you have it. This will immediately end all conflicts, trials, and external things that take you to where you can find true peace. Many things in the world give humans inner unrest because humans do not live according to nature, and according to Stoicism, we must be able to have empathy and deep knowledge that it is all part of natural rationality. Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people dealing with me today are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, envious, and sour. They are like this because they cannot distinguish good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and I have realized that those who do wrong have qualities similar to mine. Not from the same blood or birth, but the same mind and a part of divinity, a part of nature." He also wrote that people like that will definitely do it. You might also hate the fig tree for its fruit. However, soon you both will die and be forgotten. He also continued writing that the calm that arises when you stop caring about what they say, think, or do, only focus on what you do. This dichotomy of control also says to focus on the present, a time that is only within our control, and not focus on other times like the past that only gives regret and the future that only gives worry. He wrote, "Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a human, to do what is in front of you with appropriate and sincere seriousness, gently, willingly, justly, and to free yourself from all other disturbances. Yes, you can if you do everything as if it is the last thing you do in your life and stop being aimless, stop letting your emotions override what your mind says, stop being hypocritical, selfish, easily offended." He also wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less." Or more precisely, do what is essential, what is required by the logos of a social being, and in the manner required. This provides double satisfaction. Doing less, better, by understanding something as part of nature, returning to nature, and being governed by rational nature. The Stoics love their fate and accept all events with tranquility. This is called amor fati. He writes, "Your ability to control your mind, treat it respectfully, that protects your mind from mistaken perceptions wrong about your nature and all rational creatures, that enables attention and affection for others and submission to glory." He also wrote to the world, "Your harmony is mine whenever the time you choose is the right time. Not too late, not too early to nature what brought by the changing of the seasons to me, falls like ripe fruit, everything born from you is within you, returning to you. Marcus Aurelius died at the age of 58 after 19 years as Roman emperor. He often said that Rome could have been destroyed if he had not led at that time because of the many wars, pandemics, and demoralization that occurred. But with the end of the good leader's time, good leadership also ends. The peak of stability and prosperity of the Roman Empire began to decline when his son Commodus became the next emperor. However, his legacy in philosophy is very profound, and perhaps his best legacy in his life is by trying to study it. We can begin to live a wise life. Marcus Aurelius said it's not death that should be feared, but he should be afraid never to start his life. Marcus Aurelius' writings will be much better for self-consumption and internalization. This video is only in the form of an introduction and also has some subjective interpretations that may need to be filtered on its own. A video will never be able to explain the entire thought of a great person like Marcus Aurelius, so I suggest reading directly from the source. Thank you.